G'day friends, welcome to today's video. My name is James. I was going to say it again. Well, I'm on a loop. Steve's here today.
Hi, everybody.
You were here last week too,
I
weren't you?
was.
Do you love being
I
here?
decided to sneak myself back in.
Yeah. Anyway, so today on the video, I filmed for an hour and 20 minutes straight.
Today.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I'm going to play the video for you just like sped through the entire thing. This is probably a very realistic look at what happens when I am... By the way, this is part 2 of what we did last week, which was very unpopular. YouTube So I've got this app. It's the YouTube Studio app, and it tells you how your videos are doing based on other videos, and it kept telling me, your viewers don't like this video as much. And it told me, this is ranked 10 out of 10. This is getting lower views than usual. People care less about this video. I was like, wow, how many more ways could you tell me this is a crap video?
Oh my goodness.
Luckily, I don't care.
So it's like, so technically it could be like...
I enjoyed it.
If I tried to sneak around like being like, oh yeah, I really loved your video, the app would tell me otherwise. YouTube would be like, no, you're lying, Steve.
No, well... I don't really know how the algorithms work anymore. It's just basically analytics for the creator to know, oh, maybe your audience doesn't like this type of content.
Or maybe your audience is on vacation.
Probably. Where did you all go? Why do you hate my videos all of a sudden?
Don't you know Fridays?
This is going to be a reverse Q&A. I'm just going to ask you a bunch of questions today.
Every time you ask a question, it's just silent.
Yeah.
You're like,
well, that's what I thought.
That's what I thought.
And I said what I said. So anyway... all of that to say, this is part 2 of what we did last week, because I want to keep working on these virtual Voyage journals. They're not finished, and I need them to be finished.
How have you not finished them?
It takes time.
Oh,
it takes time, and you know what time it looks like these days. Steve just gets busier and busier.
My goodness.
If there is something to do, Steve will find a way to get himself involved.
That's true, somehow in a weird way. But at the same time, this is the season of pivoting and of trying to pivot well.
They're pivoting more than a netballer in grand finals.
Yeah, so...
the Australians would know what that means. But
that's like, what's her face from Kath and Kim? Sharon.
She plays netball.
Yeah, and that skirt.
If you knew.
That pants skirt combo with the polo, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
My sister used to play netball. It's quite a popular game.
Was Siobhan good at it?
Yeah, she was actually pretty good.
Oh, I believe that.
She's lanky.
So it's the season of pivoting, and it's a constant, it's exciting but different work.
We can get into it. I just wanted to say what we were doing before we started chatting. Fine. Because this was part 2 of last week. I actually didn't get the journal finished, plot twist. So I'm only working on the Avant-Garden journal, which is the week where we looked at florals and fashion.
That's
florals for spring groundbreaking. So anyway, I'm going to keep adding my stuff to it, getting all of the little bits and pieces glued in, stuck in. I do a bit of a draw, do a bit of a fashion sketch in here. I had a great time. All of that to say, an hour and 20 flew by, and then I had to move on to my next project. So this is kind of a very good look at, if I've got a scheduled amount of time I have to play within. Yeah. I know it sounds counterintuitive to schedule your play, but this is kind of what that looks like for me. It's not all really like, I'm not diving into the ins and outs of illustration and making 16 thumbnail sketches and then a finished piece. Sometimes it's just glue, cut, sketch here.
I don't know how you have the patience for that, because cutting and gluing is not peaceful for me.
I don't mind it, actually.
I feel like I get anxiety if I don't get it exactly around whatever I'm trying to cut around exactly the way I want it to look.
You know, when people have puzzles,
yeah.
For me, this feels like doing a puzzle.
Oh, okay.
Except I can make the pieces fit. Which I would try and do with a puzzle. I'm a cheater at games, and I'm certainly
not pounding on the puzzle to try to make it.
If it doesn't fit, it's broken. It's missing a piece,
and it's completely obvious that it doesn't go there.
They've made this one wrong.
How dare they?
I literally, the last time I did a puzzle, I was convinced they'd made it wrong.
I love doing puzzles. When was the last time you did a puzzle?
What does Trixie Mattel say? It's such a first world problem. It's such a first world people thing to buy a problem.
And put it back together.
To spend money to buy a problem. Anyway, that's what we're doing today. Hope you enjoy the visuals. And Steve and I are just going to chat. Let's chat about Steve's pivoting, because I'm kind of here for it, to be honest. Steve has, over the past few months, as much of the rest of the world has had to pivot. Has had to pivot. And it's just pivot. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
So he's actually now taking, and was a professional photographer for a long time, but it was one of those things where like he had a business, but it wasn't his
It
main
wasn't a main
focus.
focus, and it was like it was a slash between being a hobbyist and making a little bit of money with it.
Right. It was definitely a bit of a side hustle.
Yeah.
The months you just want to, flesh out your Christmas budget. But
Or if I felt like, oh, I just really want to do a shoot. I really want to be creative in this way. So let's
hmm,
go. Let's do that.
totally, it was a creative outlet too.
Yeah.
First and foremost, probably. But your main profession was what? Oh, my mum's calling.
Oh, right in the middle.
I'll have to talk to her later.
um, I'm a professional actor.
I legit thought you were going to say I'm a professional model. I don't know why I thought, Steve, don't say that.
You're
not.
lying. No, I'm a professional actor, and I have been for just about the last decade or so. And it has been an incredible career, and I've been super thankful for it. And I've had the brilliant opportunity to work on some incredible projects, and I mean, the list of gratitude goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And this year, with the pandemic and the situation that's going on, I just, you can't gather in theaters, and it is what it is, and that's okay. So I am still a creative person outside of my performance, outside of my singing and my dancing and my acting, and I love taking pictures. And it's
Do you mind if we talk about this? I don't want to touch a nerve
No.
if I did.
I'm okay with it. I mean, if you can ask questions, that'll be helpful.
Yeah, sure. Because if I let Steve go, he will give you the Oscars speech.
Right. So it just have
No, I think
it's just been interesting to transition from the world of being a hobbyist photographer and being primarily an actor into now behind the camera in a lot of different ways, and just the managerial stuff that goes behind it.
Right.
And also like owning a small business, which is
Right.
a whole different beast in and of itself.
Because you were full-time employed.
Yes, full-time actor.
Full-time employed, and that was something that, even though it's not still the most steady of careers, I don't think anyone is saying to kids in high school, like if they're saying all I really care about is financial security and a steady job, I don't think they're saying go into acting.
No, they're like go sell insurance.
Yeah, like it's one of those jobs that I think even now probably still has a stigma attached to it. Probably less these days, but maybe I think what I think replaced that stigma of being a dancer or an actor or whatever, being a social media
person.
influencer.
Yeah.
I reckon that's the new job that people think they're going to have, that parents say no, you can't do that.
Which is, I mean, it can be lucrative in and of itself. I do find that
totally.
It is interesting within the certain climate, the current climate. When you see that we don't have, a lot of us have kind of been relying on our in-home entertainment, our music, our TV, and all of that is arts.
Everyone thought they were a TikToker in March.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's funny because now, aren't they talking about banning TikTok here?
Something like
so
that.
Pivot TikTokers.
Yeah. Go do something else like the rest of us.
You got money, pivot.
No, but it's just my point is, I guess the arts are very important, and acting
totally.
and music and theater are very important, and they're part of our everyday life. And I think sometimes, growing up, when my parents said, well, you're not going to be able to make a career out of that. It's like, well, it is an important career because it's an important part of life.
Yeah, and I think that, the world kind of needs those people that are willing to risk it, that are willing to risk, their life maybe not being as comfortable and safe as other people's. And I mean, so being an actor is not obviously as dangerous as going into the military or anything. But, everyone has their role and their purpose. And I would say that you're very purposed into acting.
Thank you.
I think that's why you're gifted at it.
Thanks.
He's acting humble now.
I have no choice but to.
He does love it. He loves it. And I actually really enjoy it because it got me to go and visit all the time at his place of employment, which for the longest time has been Disneyland.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, those things have shut. And in the spirit of pivoting, I think what was interesting about you is we kind of felt the same thing, although I felt like when I left dance, because it was not of my own choice.
Correct.
The thing that I felt like was really different was that I thought I would go back for sure, and it just happened a really different way. But it was really hard for me to watch other people still doing it.
Right.
But then there's also this weird thing where you've stopped your full-time job as an actor, but no one, like other people aren't doing it in a capacity that you could go and do it again.
No,
so it's like,
it's stopped for all of us.
You don't even have the hope of going back until everything changes again, which is so uncertain. And so a part of me was thinking, oh, well, I don't even know why I cared, but like I was trying to think who had it harder. Maybe that says a lot about me. No, but I wanted to fully empathize with where Steve was coming from, and I thought at the beginning, oh, you're just going through what I went through in 2015.
Mhm.
But I had to realize that there were some key differences in that, like people could still have dance careers one in 2015.
Correct.
I could still, once my foot was healed, I could go back on a cruise ship, or I could go and work at Disneyland,
It
or I
was
could.
it didn't feel so imminent, I guess.
I guess you always have the fantasy in your head, and it seems possible.
Yeah.
But now there's like the impossibility of it.
Yeah.
And even I, in this season, have felt weird about that because, I know, I'll just be candid here, a lot of my yo-yo dieting, a la Oprah, Kirstie Alley, my mom, is very much based in this fantasy that I'll go back to performing.
Yeah.
And since there was that impossibility all of a sudden, I actually found I lost a lot of motivation to keep on track with exercising and dancing and eating healthier. Bit of a personal thing there, but I wonder if that's something that you're able to reconcile, considering you don't know when you're going back, or is it just one of those things that feels the same every month? It just keeps feeling uncertain.
It just feels uncertain because I could go back. Things could change. Things could pivot, and then it could be like, yeah, let's go back.
Florida's they're talking about going back to
Which
Walt
is
Disney World.
Yeah, which is exciting for all those actors, all those union actors and union performers out there.
But it will look different now.
It will look different no matter what. No matter what. However, I am at the same time I'm kind of two mindsets. I have that mindset, and I think if I dwell too much in there, I get really, really upset and sad.
Mm.
But if I look at the other mindset as I pivot, there's a lot of hope and excitement.
Mm.
And I'm really as sad as I am, because I am sad.
Mm.
I'm also have become very grateful and thankful, and the future is exciting to me as well, with kind of jumping into this passion and this love that for photography that I've had and that I currently have. Now I have some time and availability to really lean into it.
And that's exactly how I stumbled across mixed media arts and crafts when I was going through that transition. I think also it was interesting because I'd only known dance as a career and a way to make money since I left high school. Like, I didn't go to uni. I'm not educated like that. I always thought my backup plan was be a fashion designer. The irony, right? Which is not a great backup plan either. But I always thought I'd find my feet somewhere. If just follow the path, right?
Right.
But I didn't know how much of my identity was wrapped up in my career until it stopped. And I think you and I both have talked about this before. It's actually interesting to find how many of our friends identified with their career as a major point of who they are.
Well, it's interesting because I have a lot of pride with my job and what I've done, and again, I've been so thankful for it. But I almost felt weird. It was easy to be like, I'm an actor, because it's got this idea of it's very appealing, it's sparkly, it's shiny, it's glitter.
Especially around here. We live in Southern California.
Right, it's very like,
you're close to all that,
and I can tell people I work for Disney, and everybody's like, wow. And it's something that kind of fed my ego, if I'm being super honest. And now, and I always felt weird saying, and I'm a photographer, but now I don't have a choice but to really be like, well, I'm a photographer, and I'm an artist, and I'm a creative. And it's a weird like shift of power, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word.
I don't even know either, because I still feel that way when I tell people I would say I was a professional dancer, but part of me can still be it. So it's weird when I say I was, because in my head I still think, well, I am. But I'm doing mixed media right now.
And nobody takes that away from you. You give me a script and get me on a stage, I will still perform. I still know how to do that. But I'm really loving the idea of this kind of new venture that I'm on. However, at the same time, because of all the safety guidelines and such, it's not as easy just to be like, I'm gonna take my camera and call up a bunch of people and do this whole thing. You still have to do things within a certain amount of, there's certain boundaries that you have to adhere to. So it's still pivoting within the new pivot.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of added layers to this specific time period, but I think I recognized that once I had gone through that transition and become mixed media artist and thought this is going to be something I'll lean into because it seems like there's open doors here, I was very careful not to make the same mistakes I made with dancing. And I'm curious to know, as you become more of a photographer, if you won't avoid the things you noticed about your acting career and where they led you, and the things that you could possibly see still pop up in photography. I mean, simple things like saying it's easy to get your ego fed when you say, when there's like a lustery appeal of
Yeah.
working for a big company and being an actor in that. Does the same thing is possible having successful photography business and being acknowledged for your work. It's the same. You can still get that same ego
Sure.
snack.
Yeah.
But I wonder if this is something you try to pivot away from. Say pivot one more time.
Pivot. Every time I say pivot, I'm reminded of one.
But I actually I feel like I disconnected from
Yeah.
my identity as a dancer, and I feel like I was more worried about who was I as a person and how was I presenting to people. Like, what did I lack that I let this appeal of like my career kind of make up for? What would I be without a career? Who was still left? And how much of that, like what percentage of me was so reliant upon that as speaking for my character or who I was or how much success I'd had?
I find it differently only because I think because photography was always kind of a hobby.
Mm.
There was a time where I was very, very, very competitive, even for no reason, just to be like, and
you're a little competitive by nature.
Yeah. However, I think I don't know how to explain it. It's just different.
Yeah, I put you on the spot. Don't worry. Neither of us have thought about this question before we got here, but
I feel like
I think there's a lot of people going through it at the same time, and I guess maybe the answer is we don't need to have all the answers. We're still figuring it out.
Sure.
And I've been in this for how many years since I started?
Yeah.
2015. This is my 5th year, and I still feel like I'm discovering the boundaries for myself, how to, and this is even weirder because I'm trying to disconnect myself from my work and not find identity in it, but now my work is literally my identity. It is James Luke Burke Creative.
Right.
It is me in that space. So I think this is why, if you've ever noticed how protective I am of my personal and my private information, my private life. I'm talking to you guys now, not Steve, but because Steve knows this is why I'm so protective of keeping that separate. There's this YouTube kind of is the bridge, and Instagram is kind of the behind the scenes, like a sneak peek. But there's a whole me that I won't introduce to my business because that's for me and my life.
Well,
here.
And I think everybody needs that. Everybody needs to have a little level of boundary and.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's not.
But everybody does that in life.
Do you go to your full-time job and give all of your life to it?
I mean, some people do, and who those people are.
Yeah. Well, I guess maybe that's why I'm mildly successful.
No, I mean, I find though that at least for me with photography, I guess to answer your earlier question is that when you, for instance, when you study, so singing, for instance, your voice type is created to be kind of in a certain space. So if I can't hit some high note, no matter how hard I work at it, it might not just sound great. But with photography, if there's something that I don't know, I can learn it and I can feel successful in learning it. And so I can try this and try that. And I find that it's more successful when it works in collaboration and collaborating with people and collaborating with others. And it's more fun for me. So I don't know if that helps or if that even answers your question, but
I don't know what question I asked
I don't
at this
remember.
point.
I guess it's like
I'm glad that you're pivoting because the other option is to not. It's to stay and to
be
wait
stagnant, and
to
I
wait it
don't
out.
want to wait. So
some people do, and I think some people are
good for
lucky
them.
enough to get by. I don't know. I think for a period I
can't.
definitely waited, and it was you telling me, what are you giving yourself 100% to? Like, where are you putting 100% of your efforts? Because if you're only putting in 30% to making your mixed media business work, you'll get 30%'s worth back.
I'm probably putting 30% into my photography.
Steve's really good at giving advice.
That's not true. I mean, today though I have worked. I was stuck on my schedule today. So, but anyway, thanks for talking about that.
Yeah.
I hope that was helpful to anybody out there. I guess.
Yeah, I guess if you guys are pivoting and you love to pivot,
just know that we're all pivoting along with you.
Yeah, this pivotal time.
Yeah.
Doing pivotal things.
Pivoting all the pivots. So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, well, we got about 30 seconds left, so...
I do like your journal,
You've wrapped me up too quick.
Oh, I did? Sorry.
No, it's fine.
I'm not always good with the seconds.
See, look, I've got the last page and the back page, and I've still got my Wizard of Oz journal, so, we might be doing these substandard, according to YouTube, videos. just like really coming for me in that app. I'm gonna delete that app. No more analytics for me.
It's like what the 10th what percentage
Yeah,
is
people
it?
are like, just ignore the haters. I'm like, YouTube is the hater.
The platform itself doesn't like me.
Yeah, the platform is attacking me. Okay, we gotta go. Bye.
Bye.